Moldova votes Europe cheers, and Russia, well, let's just say they're not sending any congratulatory fruit baskets. This election has been nothing short of a political earthquake, shaking the very foundations of Eastern European geopolitics. Moldova, a small but strategically significant country, has made a bold statement with its latest election results. For years, Moldova has been a country at the crossroads, its people torn between the promise of a European future and the pull of its Soviet past. But with this vote, the nation has sent a clear message to the world. It's ready to chart a new course, one that could redefine its destiny and the balance of power in the region. Here's what just happened. Moldova's pro-European Party of Action and Solidarity crushed it at the polls, locking in over 50% and a clear majority. This is a monumental shift for a country that has long been caught in a tug-of-war between East and West. The Party of Action and Solidarity, led by President Maia Sandu, has promised to steer Moldova closer to the European Union, a move that has been met with both jubilation and consternation. For many Moldovans, this victory represents hope for a brighter, more prosperous future, free from the shadow of corruption and political instability that has plagued the country for decades. The streets of Chisinau erupted in celebration as supporters waved flags and chanted pro-European slogans, their faces lit up with optimism and pride. Forget the pre-election drama, the results were a plot twist even pollsters didn't expect. The pre-election polls had suggested a tight race, but the actual results were a landslide victory for the pro-European camp. This unexpected outcome has left many analysts scratching their heads trying to understand the underlying currents that led to such a decisive win. Some point to a surge in youth turnout, others to a growing frustration with the status quo and a desire for real change. Whatever the reasons, the message is clear. Moldovans are ready to break with the past and embrace a new direction. The shock waves from this result are being felt not just in Moldova, but across the region, as neighboring countries and international observers try to make sense of what this means for the future of Eastern Europe. The EU, absolutely ecstatic. European leaders have been quick to congratulate Moldova on its choice, seeing it as a validation of their efforts to promote democracy and stability in the region. The European Union has long been courting Moldova, offering economic aid and political support in exchange for reforms and alignment with EU standards. For Brussels, this election is a major win, a sign that their strategy of engagement and support is paying off. The EU has been eager to expand its influence in Eastern Europe, and Moldova's decision to move closer to the bloc is being hailed as a triumph for European values and diplomacy. European leaders are basically doing the happy dance, calling it a vote for democracy and promising to roll out the blue and gold carpet. They see this as a significant step towards expanding the European family, and they are eager to support Moldova in its journey towards EU membership. The promise of increased investment, infrastructure projects, and political support is on the table. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen called the result a victory for democracy and the European spirit, while other EU officials have pledged to accelerate Moldova's integration process. For the EU, Moldova's success is not just about geopolitics. It's about proving that democracy and reform can deliver real results, even in the face of external pressure and internal challenges. Even Ukraine's president chimed in, high-fiving Moldova for resisting Russian interference. President Volodymyr Zelensky has been vocal in his support, seeing Moldova's election results as a positive sign for the region. Ukraine, which has its own complex relationship with Russia, views Moldova's pro-European shift as a potential ally in its own struggles. Zelensky praised the Moldovan people for their courage and determination, calling their choice an inspiration for all who believe in freedom and sovereignty. The solidarity between Ukraine and Moldova is growing stronger, as both countries face similar challenges and share a common vision for a future anchored in European values and cooperation. Meanwhile in Moscow, it's all gloomy faces and finger-pointing. The Kremlin is not taking this lightly. For Russia, Moldova's pivot towards Europe is seen as a direct challenge to its influence in the region. The mood in Moscow is somber, with officials scrambling to respond to this unexpected turn of events. Russian state media has been quick to frame the election as a Western plot, accusing the EU and the US of meddling in Moldova's internal affairs. Behind closed doors, Russian policymakers are reportedly reassessing their strategy, worried that Moldova's example could inspire similar movements in other post-Soviet states. The Kremlin says, hey, unfair, not enough polling stations for Moldovans in Russia. Russian officials have been quick to cry foul, alleging that the election was marred by irregularities. They claim that the lack of sufficient polling stations for Moldovans living in Russia disenfranchised a significant portion of the electorate. Russian spokespersons have held press conferences, accusing the Moldovan government of deliberately limiting the voting rights of its diaspora in Russia, where many Moldovans traditionally support pro-Russian parties. Protests have erupted outside Moldovan embassies in Russian cities, with demonstrators demanding greater access to the democratic process. Russian officials claim the vote shows a deep split and warn against Moldova becoming Europe's new BFF. They argue that the election results highlight a deep divide within Moldovan society, with a significant portion of the population still favoring closer ties with Russia. The Kremlin has issued stern warnings against Moldova's European ambitions, suggesting that such a move could destabilize the region. Russian commentators on state television have painted a picture of a country on the brink of internal conflict, warning that Moldova's embrace of the West could lead to economic hardship, social unrest, and even the loss of its sovereignty. The rhetoric is heating up and the stakes are higher than ever. And get this, Moldova says Russia tried everything: cyber attacks, fake news, even bomb threats at polling stations. Moldovan authorities have accused Russia of attempting to interfere in the election through a variety of means, from cyber attacks aimed at disrupting the voting process to spreading fake news and even issuing bomb threats at polling stations. The allegations are serious and have added to the tension between the two countries. Cybersecurity experts reported a spike in malicious activity targeting Moldovan government websites and election infrastructure in the days leading up to the vote. Meanwhile, social media platforms were flooded with disinformation campaigns designed to sow confusion and undermine trust in the electoral process. Despite these efforts, Moldovan officials say they were able to safeguard the integrity of the vote thanks to increased vigilance and international support. Yet the vote stood strong. Despite these challenges, the Moldovan people turned out in large numbers to cast their ballots, and the election results have been widely recognized as legitimate. The resilience of the Moldovan electorate in the face of such adversity has been praised by international observers. Election monitors from the OSCE and other organizations have commended the transparency and fairness of the process, noting that the will of the people was clearly expressed. For many Moldovans, this election was about more than just choosing a government. It was about asserting their right to self-determination and proving that democracy can thrive, even under pressure. So what's next? Moldova's racing toward the EU, hoping for more investment and reforms. The new government has its work cut out for it, with a long list of reforms needed to meet EU standards. From tackling corruption to improving the judiciary and boosting the economy, the road ahead is challenging but filled with opportunities. European officials have already signaled their willingness to provide technical assistance and financial support, but they've also made it clear that progress will depend on Moldova's ability to deliver real, lasting change. For ordinary Moldovans, the hope is that EU integration will bring better jobs, higher living standards, and a brighter future for the next generation. Already, there are signs of increased foreign investment and new infrastructure projects on the horizon as the country begins to reap the benefits of its pro-European pivot. But with Russia sulking next door, don't expect the drama to cool off anytime soon. The geopolitical tug-of-war is far from over, and Moldova will need to navigate its relationship with Russia carefully. The Kremlin is unlikely to sit idly by as Moldova moves closer to the EU, and further tensions are almost inevitable. There are concerns about potential economic retaliation, energy supply disruptions, or even increased support for separatist movements in the breakaway region of Transnistria, where Russian influence remains strong. Moldova's leaders will have to balance their European ambitions with the realities of geography and history, seeking ways to protect their sovereignty without provoking a major confrontation. Where do you stand, cheering for Europe or watching Russia's next move? This election has not only reshaped Moldova's political landscape but also has significant implications for the broader region. The world is watching closely to see how this new chapter unfolds. Will Moldova become a model for democratic transformation in Eastern Europe, or will it face new challenges as it seeks to redefine its place in the world? The coming months will be critical, as the new government works to implement reforms, build alliances, and manage the complex dynamics of regional politics. One thing is certain, Moldova's story is far from over, and its choices will echo far beyond its borders. Drop your thoughts below and hit subscribe for more global plot twists. Your engagement helps us bring you more in-depth analysis and updates on the ever-changing world stage. Whether you're a seasoned political junkie or just curious about the forces shaping our world, we want to hear from you. What do you think Moldova's future holds? Will the country succeed in its quest for European integration, or will it be pulled back into Russia's orbit? Stay tuned as we continue to follow this unfolding story and bring you the latest developments from Moldova and beyond.